All right. Welcome to Mindful Cardio and Strength. I'll just give this guy a little scoot over for a moment. Probably won't need a little jacket anymore. So today I thought I'd wrap up what I've been talking about in habits, and some of you know, you can go back into the video library too and check. I've been doing Scott's class and been going through a lot of the habits book that I've been reading and sharing little by little. So if you want to, I may have shared a little bit, different stuff there and different stuff in here. So today we'll kind of wrap that up, and then I wanted to go into next week. We'll work with some more information, and while we're walking or talking or biking or whatever you're doing. So I'm going to finish up with that, and I think that's pretty much it. It could be like the end of our discussion on habits, unless you have questions on it. I think a lot of people are using this step. So even if you aren't, we're going to just start out with a little bit of footwork here. Sticking your foot out in front and relaxing into your feet, spreading the ball of the foot out. Even if you have your shoes on, you can do this a little bit here. And let's do a little shift forward and to that nice spread out toe base. And we'll take a breath in and get into that mindful space before I start working on the step. And just want to really settle into my feet a little bit. Let my knees have a little, I'm actually going with straight leg, but I want to connect a little bit into the body before I start moving a little more. Go ahead and stay forward with that. And then get really long with your back leg and let your heel reach back. Now bend your front knee and let it go forward a little bit. We'll just get a little stretch here to the back leg. Maybe you can feel your belly holding things up a little bit. And then shift your weight and drag that foot through. And if you'd like, bring it all the way up in front, or you could have your toe on the floor. And you could work with your ankle here, toe, heel. And then we'll bring that foot down and feel both feet. And then take the other foot back just a little bit, not way back there. And I'm just going to do the same thing, kind of propelling off the back foot, both feet, spreading the ball of the foot. Hopefully your shoes allow that if you're in your shoes. So far, I've just done the step with my bare feet. We'll see if that stands. When I'm doing a lot of step, I am starting to feel that a little bit, but I've been doing a lot of step. I think once a week, it's probably just fine. If you are doing 3 or more times a week, maybe you need a little more padding. Kind of depends. And I'm thinking about tomorrow morning, maybe doing a little more floor work, a little bit on the step, maybe 10 minutes on the step, but also what can we do if we have nothing? And can we get that heart rate up? Just play around with that for my last class there for Scott this go round. So come to that forward position. And then we took that back heel way back behind us and the front knee bending a little bit. And then reaching that heel back, it'll go down, but also back behind us. And get that nice back leg gets a little stretch, front knee bending, connection into the core of the body. And then we'll come forward, bring that foot up, and you can bring it forward up here and then play around with the toe coming off, or bring the knee up. And then let's reach through the heel and toe. Heel, toe. Find my balance again, back to heel and toe. And then bringing the feet back down. And then let's take a roll down and just kind of see where the shoulders are. And then we'll go ahead and get up to the step. So go ahead and give you a side view here, chin toward the chest, letting that be my starting point. And at some point here, as we go down, so far, just letting the head hang, you can kind of feel where that pulls in your body for you. And then starting to use the belly to begin to round through the shoulder blades. And continue to pull that belly and get very concentrated on that belly work. And in the process, of course, we go down the spine. And let yourself have a couple of breaths here. Letting the morning or the week just kind of drip out your fingers and out the top of the head for the moment. And let's circle the hands, circle the arms. So if you need to come up a little bit, if you have like those long arms that touch the floor, come up. And then go the other way with the shoulders. And then rolling up. All the way back up to standing. Good. So hopefully you're feeling a little more in your body and in your space. I know I am, so it's good place to start now, coming back onto whatever device you're using for your cardio. And we'll start walking that out. So just starting right foot, up and down. Maybe you can take a walk down your road. I have another student who said, I'm just going to try to walk around the block. And that's a lot of times what I was doing with mindful cardio when I was listening in the mornings with Scott. Try to take that out on a walk with me, because if I could, I wanted to be outside. And I was lucky enough that my cellular kind of kept up and I could listen to that. Switch sides, left foot. I don't know if we'll get to it, but it'd be kind of awesome to have a half hour, 40 minutes where, and there are apps that do this too for your cardio, and it's just audio. You wouldn't need the video component so much for going out for the walk or the bike ride, and having, whether it's that information that we're talking about here, kind of having a topic that we're exploring for a few weeks or a few sessions, or if that's helping us stay mindful in our cardio, switch it up each side. I think that's the purpose, right? Not so much that you need instruction on walk faster, do your interval. If you're doing a different kind of training, there are apps for that. But how do we stay mindfully engaged with the body? I think that's the purpose of these mindful cardio workouts. It's to feel the feet in the shoes or touching the socks and then touching the step. Or maybe you're not in the socks yet. Kind of that in-between season. Mine might be off before we're done. So if we're talking about our habits, getting to those last ideas, and really get into that nitty-gritty about awareness, that mindful piece that we're cultivating here in the cardio, that it can go on through the day, right? Our awareness comes before our desire. An opening shows up. There's an opening for a thought. And most of our thoughts have some kind of carrot at the end. A lot of them are about, we see an opening for a habit or an experience or a sensation, and we're chasing that desire. Human experience, even culturally, it's part of what we do. It's part of what we're expected to do. We're expected to be happy all the time. So we chase happiness, or what we perceive as happiness. I'm gonna make some big steps here. So wide steps. We can start wide, wide, and back. Wide, wide, and back. So I'm going to give you a little short statement here and just let you ponder it while you stay in your body. We kind of feed the mind a little bit. Try to stay in the body. Happiness is the absence of desire. Happiness is the absence of desire. There's somewhere in the book, I don't want to forget to say this because I found it also very profound or interesting, that our ability to deal with boredom can be very reflective on our habits. And the people that can deal with that boredom, there's space. There's nothing happening. We're not chasing a desire. We're not experiencing a perceived something we think will bring us joy or think will bring us a certain sensation. And a lot of those successful people that are able to have, we're going to talk a little bit more about self-control later today here, are able to hang out in that boredom. We don't really like boredom, do we? Does the mind like boredom? Big old step. Back up in the center. I write down some of my ideas. I can't keep these all up here. Maybe someday, if I'm still talking about this 5 years from now, they'll all be in here. Can read my writing, so had to check it out. So the idea of pleasure is what we chase. Usually by the time it's happening, remember a lot of maybe you've heard this, like a lot of the joy that you have with an experience is the anticipation of the trip, the idea of the dinner, And some of the habits that we want to instill are much harder on that idea level. Thinking about the future you that's X number of years older, that's healthy, that has good relationships. That's a lot harder idea to continue to maintain than the immediate ones. We've talked a little bit about that, if not here, in the other classes. Let's mix it up a little bit. Come on over the front, over the top, I'm gonna go sideways to start. If you're worried about my weights, so am I. Maybe I'll hang on to them for a while. You'll help me start huffing and puffing a little bit. You're welcome to move quicker. You're welcome to hold those weights in different places. Happiness is the absence of desire. Contentedness, satiation, being satiated. So the mantra of not, oh, you know what I think I need right now, but with being with what is right now a little more often. Switch sides on you. Gonna keep switching sides. Peace comes from allowing observation without action. Kind of along the same as happiness is the absence of desire, a little bit different though. Observation without action. Observing ourselves, observing our environment, and maybe not needing to fix it. Now, maybe isn't applicable if it's raining out and you notice your window's open. Probably should do that. Go close the window. But maybe you can think of a couple other places too, where this applies for you. Peace comes from allowing observation without action. I can think of one for me. Get to observe my kids. Get to observe their choices, their experience. And boy, do I want to act. I want to speak, right? Say something, do something, make their path easier, put in my 2 cents. What if I was to have more peace in that observation without feeling like I got to fix it? Be a pretty awesome habit for me to start allowing. Been going forward here. Kind of switched it up, right foot, left foot. And same as I've been doing, kind of going with the right, the right, the right, the right. Doing a little arm work, biceps. Up to you if you want to be doing that. Gonna go with the left. So next little ditty. With a big why, you can overcome any how. A lot of motivation and determination can come out of that question of why. Why do you want to do whatever the habit is, whatever the goal is? The habits make the goal. There's that quote that I'm not very good with quotes unless I've got them in front of me, but piece by piece, right? The habits make the goals make the this, and then it continues to get bigger until it's your identity, it's your person. I think there's character in there in the quote. With any big why, you can overcome the how. How do I get there? If there's a big motivator, and it doesn't mean you have to change the world with this why. Change your world with the why. Going up with the right, down. Let's switch it up and go right over the top. If you've done this one before and you kind of like the challenge of the balance, the challenge to the knees, it's really the strength for the knee joint there. We also work the ankles, right? That back foot, the ball of the foot, feeling that again. And I'm going to go to the other side. Shake it out a little bit, walk it out. Got to go to the other side. I didn't. And I was like, oh, that leg's tired. Why? Got to switch. Good. All right, the next one, being curious is better than being smart. Where in your life are you already curious? Where could you add an element of curiosity? I could apply this again to my kid scenario. Being curious about them as humans, being curious about my mom or my siblings' experiences, rather than applying theories and knowledge. Not that those aren't useful, but they probably don't want to hear it from me anyway. Even if I have read some psychology book. Again, kind of coming back to that fix it. People that are smart, it's not denigrating that at all. I love to learn. I love to be around smart people. I also think that the smartest people are very curious. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, very interesting, about a journalist who would call himself an optimist, and he was getting very discouraged with the reporting over the last year. We'll say even in 2020, from March to January, or maybe March to March. And he said, why do we, as many of us do, watching the news, feel very bad, negative? And he was curious about it. Something is going on to where the news, it's not just necessarily the content, or it's the content in a specific way. So he did some courses people do if they're researchers, journalists, And maybe he's not a journalist, he may be an economist. And he did some research then and studied some 43,000 pieces of news. And he studied them in the US and he studied them abroad. And he found that the lexicon, the words used in the articles, there's a group of negative words, there's a group of positive words. For some reason in the English language, we have a lot more description for negative things than we do for positive. We have to describe more of the positive things. There's not just a word for them, as there is so much with the negative experiences. I'm gonna go side to side, tap. So not only that wasn't the big reveal. But the big reveal was, and maybe you've seen this or heard about this study, but his curiosity brought him to find out that more so in the US, and you could pick any newspaper and a reporting source, more negative words were in the reporting of the news. There could be neutral words, there could be positive words, there could be just what happened. So isn't that interesting? That maybe if we were listening to the news, the BBC, maybe somewhere else in Europe or somewhere else on the planet, he didn't say where, and we'd simply feel a little more neutral about the news. The news was the news. It was something being reported. It might even be boring. And if you're having a negative emotion every time you watch the news, it's not necessarily boring then, is it? It's creating a reaction. So anyway, that all to say, kind of a cool experiment and something to know about what you're digesting. And maybe searching out different sources. And noticing how you feel when you're taking in that information. So being curious, he was just curious, and he refused to feel like it was all doom and gloom. And he wanted to know why. Why do I have to feel doom and gloom? I mean, the scientists were able to come up with this vaccine. And if we look back, we know they've been working on coronavirus type vaccines for a little while. So not to take anything away from what they did. Kind of cool. All right, a couple more minutes here on the step. Get in our full minutes. And if you feel like you need to move faster, you go for it. You need to add those weights, you go for it. Side step. I'm going to use my arms a little bit. So emotion drives behavior. This is interesting to think about too. Our emotion is what ultimately drives our behavior. Trying to think of if that feels true to me when I'm doing the dishes. Does my emotion drive my behavior? Will I feel bad if I don't do the dishes? Maybe that's the emotion, is guilt. Or I don't know, but our decisions may be logical, but the actual action, this author argues, arises out of emotion. Again, maybe that's just one of those neutral things. I don't feel really one way or the other about the dishes. Kind of accepted that they can just be a thing that happens. I can make it more pleasurable for myself by listening to something while I do it, or by using it as a form of meditation, just being aware for that time. And my last little tidbit today, up and down. I'm gonna go up, lift, come back down. Up, lift, come back down. And you can make a couple steps, up, lift. You could be switching it up if you want. I'm just choosing to do one side. Self-control is difficult because it's not inherently satisfying. Go on with the other side. Self-control is difficult because it's not satisfying. So we need to release the desire, right? If self-control is leaving something, saying I'm not going to go to bed too late, releasing the desire to stay up, or releasing the desire rather than satisfying it. I'm going to stay up because I really want to watch this thing, or I'm going to have the sugar that I know isn't good for me. But I have to release the desire for that rather than satisfy it. So self-control is difficult because it's not inherently satisfying, right? We don't get that reward. He talks a lot about craving and reward in the book, and could talk probably another class about just that concept of craving, reward patterns that we have, and disrupting those. Good. How are you doing? We're about ready to hit the weights a little bit, do a little bit of leg work to finish up. I hope some of what I talked about here, you'll want to jot down or put on a sticky and just kind of ponder it later. I love talking about and thinking about these ideas. I love growing. So I hope that some of that has worked out well for you too. So I'm going to find my weights. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to move this guy. Oh, he's going to come into play again, actually. So I'll keep my step there. And that's not going to work very well. I'll come out front so make sure you can see me. We're just going to go ahead and work with the legs to start. So let's do that. And we're going to step the feet apart. Give myself a little more. It's too slippery in here for this now. Just like we started, we had the ball of the foot kind of separating here. And then let's just come off that back foot. Get a nice stance here. Notice how the knees are easy. And then let's start to take those weights forward and come back up. The weights forward and come back up. So for right now, kind of straight with the leg. And if you want, you could even take the foot off, do a little balance. For right now, straight on the front leg. And I'm really watching, kind of want to make sure I'm paying attention before I lift that foot, that I've got all the help I need from that front leg. All right, we're going to take that one more step. Leg lift, swing it through, bring the weights up. The toes can find the floor, or they can swing all the way through. gonna give myself a little help, come up, a little help, come forward, leg comes up, a little help, knee comes up. Good, and then bring the feet to the floor. Did you feel that a little bit? Let's take it straight on, squat, and then we'll do the other side. Good, 3 more. Good, and then the other leg. So taking that little step back, feet, if they start a little bit further apart, you'll feel like you've got a little more of a base here. And then foot comes off, just like we started. And we'll start with that down and back up. Down and back up. So far, toes are on the floor. Front leg fairly straight, back knee can be bent. And then let's add coming forward. Maybe you don't come quite as far. Foot can lift. Come back up. Forward. Lift. Up. Forward. Lift. Coming through. Weights come up. Coming back down. Up. Lift. Forward. Lift. Difference on my 2 sides for sure. In the balance category, maybe the strength category, whatever is happening, I can glide through that one a little easier. Good. Taking those weights up and over. Dropping into your feet. Go 3 more. Push it over. Push it overhead. Good. And then coming down. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and park it on my step. If you don't have your step, you can go ahead and come to the floor and keep the weights. What I like about having the step is my still breathing a little bit. That's good. I've got a little more room for my elbows to go. So whether you've got a bench, those gym benches are nice, but even a bench at home, if you've got any kind of bench to do some of the arm work, it can be nice. So let's take those weights up toward the ceiling here. And then slowly elbows out and just start not all the way down yet and press back up. Get connected in a little bit with your weights in this position. And then gradually elbows out a little bit more, maybe even with your bench. And then maybe even dipping back behind the level of the bench. In the other cardio classes, I've been working with shoulders when we get to the mat. Talking about the shoulder blades, the upper arm bones. Doing some shoulder stuff. All right, starting to feel that. Let's go ahead and bring the weights down all the way to the floor. Nice. And then hopefully your bench is sort of comfortable. If it's not, come down to the mat or put a blanket there on the bench. This work does not have to be done on the bench, but it's a little interesting to do it here. And I think it was way back in the summer that last time maybe one of the classes here. Let's bring the hands behind the head. And then with an exhale, rounding up. Seeing how far we can get those shoulders and shoulder blades away from the bench. If you want to take the hands alongside the thighs, it's just a different feel. Can you let your tail go with the feet as they are there, knees as they are? Good. And then lowering back all the way down. Hands back behind the head. And then if it's comfortable, let's bring the knees over the hips. You can feel that balance of the sacrum back there, lifting the head and finding your way up. And checking in where your knees are. Are they in toward you? Not too many people put them way out here, but that's even a little more work, right? And then arms alongside if you'd like. And you can see how reaching with the hands can actually give you a little bit more lift for those shoulder blades. And we'll breathe here. 5, breath, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Legs come down, upper body comes back, rest the head. Let the arms come down. Good. We'll bring the knees up one more time, knees over the hips. This time the feet lifting. And then softening in the thighs a little bit. So you'll see I've got a little bend in the knees to do that. And as I soften in the thighs, the belly is working to help support me. I'm just going to scoot down a little bit so I feel like my head isn't coming off. And I know if you're a longer torsoed person, you're going to be even further down. All right, so soft legs, belly is toning. And I'm going to start to take that thigh away from me and then back up. Take that thigh away and then back up. It doesn't have to be coming to the floor here, but moving from this thigh bone, moving away, coming back up, softening in the front of the leg best you can, using the belly best you can. 4 more. Last one. Good. And then feet to the floor. Release the belly. Release the face and jaw. Release any extra effort in the legs. And then as you're ready, if you are on your step, just reminding yourself that you're on the step. So how you want to get off of here. It may not be rolling to the side. it might be a little more active to kind of bring yourself up to seated. All right. So hopefully that hit the spot here to give you energy for the rest of the day, or maybe to even bring that energy full circle for a little bit of rest time here and then continuing on. Sometimes it works that way. People can feel kind of relaxed after they do some body work. So either way, but have a really wonderful rest of this Tuesday. And we'll see you again Wednesday morning. I'm going to be teaching at 7:30 and 9 tomorrow. Movement Lab is at 9. So let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ingrid. I appreciated all your